Have you ever heard of a town that just disappeared? Not slowly, not one of those ghost towns that died of boredom after the highway got rerouted. I mean, disappeared overnight. One day it's there, 300 people, kids, dogs, a post office, a church bell that rings 10 minutes late every Sunday. The next day, gone. That was Cold Creek, Nebraska in 1952. Population 312, give or take a few cows, a stubborn mule named Betsy, and one man everyone swore was hiding from his wife in a grain silo. Just gone. No Cold Creek, no survivors, no trace. Just wind, grass, and questions. Before it vanished, Cold Creek was a sort of town that didn't even dream of making headlines. It sat a good 2 hours west of Omaha, somewhere between you missed the turn and maybe we should go home. The locals had a saying, Cold Creek's where the map gets bored. It wasn't fancy. A single road cut through the middle, lined with squat wooden buildings that all leaned slightly left, like they were tired of trying to stand up straight. There was Danner's barber shop, where the same three men had been getting the same haircut since the Great Depression. A one-room post office where the mail was sorted by hand and gossip traveled faster than any letter. And of course, there was Hanlon's grain mill. The smell of fresh cut wheat and engine oil mixed with that faint metallic tang that every small town carries like a secret. On Saturdays, kids raced bikes down the main street while their parents played cards at the diner. On Sunday, the church bell rang off key, the preacher rambled about sin, and half the congregation nodded off, partly from guilt and mostly from hangovers. It was a kind of town where the big news of the year might be a cow giving birth to triplets or a county fair introducing a second funnel cake booth. Ordinary, forgettable, comfortable. Right up until it wasn't. Friday, October 17th, 1952. The last day anyone saw Cold Creek. By all accounts, it was unremarkable. A gray, windy afternoon, skies low and restless like they were thinking about rain. The school let out early because the roof was leaking again. The postmaster, Mr. Warren, locked up at 5 p.m. sharp and went home to his wife, who'd been threatening to move to Omaha for 20 years but never made it past the county line. And the station master, old Raymond Bixby, made his usual notes in the train logbook before heading upstairs to his little apartment above the depot. Raymond was the town's unofficial timekeeper. He was predictable to a fault. Lights out at 9, coffee pot on by 5. So when the morning train rolled through at 6 and there was no sign of him, the conductor started to worry. And then he started to panic, because there wasn't any sign of anything. The first person after the conductor to realize something was amiss was the milk truck driver named Harold Dunn. And he wasn't quite sure what was going on because Coal Creek was missing. Harold left Auburn at 4:30 that morning, radio crackling, headlights cutting through the thick fog that smelled faintly of iron. He knew the road by heart. He'd been running milk to Coal Creek for years. When he reached where the town should have been, he slowed down and then stopped because there was nothing there. Not a single building, no road, no train depot, no sound but the wind. At first he thought maybe the fog was hiding it. He honked his horn, waited, listened for dogs barking, cows mooing, a door slamming, anything. Nothing answered. He stepped out of his truck, boots sinking into the soft earth. He walked forward 10 yards, and then 20. And that's when he saw it, a single mailbox standing in the grass. It was rusty, crooked, and the paint was nearly gone, except for their name was still visible. Hanlon. By noon, a handful of locals rode out from neighboring towns. Farmers, ranchers, a deputy or two. They found the same thing Harold did. No town. Just a flat, featureless field that stretched as far as they could see. The grass looked wrong, too fresh, too tall, as if it had been growing undisturbed for months, not overnight. The power poles that lined the road were gone. They weren't laying down, they weren't rotted, they were cut clean at the base. Telephone lines dangled in empty space. The road itself ended abruptly in a patch of wild weeds. Even the earth looked unnaturally smooth, like it had been scraped clean. It wasn't a disaster site. It was a blank canvas. By sunset, word had spread across half the state. Farmers from Auburn, Willow Point, and beyond came to see for themselves. Most stood in silence. A few crossed themselves. One old rancher spat his tobacco and muttered, "Guess God needed a new pasture." Others weren't so calm. They started making up explanations faster than the sheriff could shoot them down. Maybe a tornado? Nah, I'd leave debris. Aliens? Aliens wouldn't touch Nebraska. It's too boring. The only other thing they all agreed on, whatever happened, it wasn't natural. A reporter from Lincoln came out with a camera. He took 2 photographs of the empty field. When he developed them, both were pure white. Not overexposed, just blank, like the camera refused to remember. Neighbors began talking about strange things they'd seen or heard in the days before the disappearance. One woman said her radio picked up a strange humming, low mechanical, like static underwater. Another swore she saw lights flickering above Cold Creek the night before, drifting in perfect formation, silent and blue. A preacher from Willow Creek claimed he awoke in the middle of the night to find his clock spinning backwards. People laughed at him, mostly, but they laughed nervously. A week later, the government showed up. No warning, just a convoy of black trucks rolling through Auburn before dawn, heading straight towards the empty field. No license plates, no insignia, no markings. Just men in suits and hats who looked allergic to small talk. They worked for 2, maybe 3 days, set up tripods, took soil samples, whispered a lot, and refused to answer questions. When the county sheriff asked what they were doing, one man just smiled. That kind of smile that says, "I know something you don't," and said, "You didn't see anything," which of course made everyone certain he had. When they left, they put up warning signs. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, authorized personnel only, because nothing reassures the public like, stay away forever. So what happened? Well, there are a few theories. The first is a sinkhole theory. Some geologists claim Cold Creek was built on unstable limestone that collapsed overnight. But there's no hole, no crater, just level ground. The second is a chemical spill theory. A secret experiment gone wrong. Gas leak, evacuation, government cleanup. But that doesn't explain why the dirt looks so polished and why the fog lingers to this day. The third is a relocation theory. Some think the Army dismantled the town under the cover of night, shipped it off piece by piece to test nuclear shockwaves on a replica. Sure, because nothing says science like relocating Grandma's porch swing to Nevada. The fourth theory is my personal favorite. It's called the dimensional theory. It's the one that the locals whisper about. Coal Creek, Nevada didn't fall, or burn, or even move. It slipped right out of our time and into somewhere else. The problem is, we'll never probably know what happened to Coal Creek, Nevada. Truckers say they still hear it sometimes. A woman's voice breaking through the static, soft and calm. Train 47 arriving at Coal Creek Depot, all aboard. It usually happens between 2 and 3 a.m., always near mile marker 214, and always followed by static and silence. In the 1980s, a ham radio operator claimed to pick up the same transmission. Faint, but clear. He traced the frequency to a 50-mile radius of the Coal Creek site. Then, his entire setup fried. Every dial, every wire, gone. He rebuilt it 3 times. Same result. He stopped listening. When NASA satellites scanned the region in the 1980s, they detected faint rectangular patterns in the soil, like street grids or building foundations. Scientists came to check it out, and every piece of their equipment failed. Metal detectors went dead, compasses spun like drunk donkeys, and GPSs locked on 0. The lead researcher, a woman named Lorna May, wrote in her field journal, "It's like the land refuses to remember." She meant it as a metaphor, but maybe she was right. But the story doesn't end there. Even now, the Omaha Post Office occasionally receives letters addressed to Cold Creek, Nebraska. Most get returned, of course, but every so often one doesn't. It just disappeared. And the name on the return address, every single time, Hamlin. Folks in nearby Auburn still talk about Cold Creek, in hushed tones, obviously. They say the fog around that area rolls in faster than it should, thick and white, and like the earth is breathing or something. Some swear they've seen figures in it, a man with a lantern, a woman with a long dress, a little boy chasing the ball through the grass that used to be Main Street. One hunter claimed that he followed what looked like footprints in the dew one morning, bare feet, small. They led out of the fog, and then they stopped. No return prints. He quit hunting after that. Remember how I said that that wasn't the end of the story? Here's the strange part. The Cold Creek area still gets occasional power surges. Electric lines that shouldn't exist flicker like something is drawing a current. And in 1999, during a drought, aerial photos showed faint patterns again: foundations, roads, even the outline of the church steeple. They disappeared a week later when the rain came. Locals said it wasn't the rain that washed them away. It was the town slipping back under. Every few years, someone tries to solve the mystery. A historian, a podcaster, a YouTuber with a drone and way too much optimism. They all find the same thing, though: nothing. No sign of life, no trace of history, just grass and fog. But people who camp nearby say that sometimes they wake up to the sound of a train whistle. They swear it's real. The whistle, the hum of the tracks, even the faint clatter of the wheels. They look around. No tracks, no lights, and no train. Just a low, lingering vibration in the air, like the world itself is remembering something that it shouldn't. So maybe it was a sinkhole. Maybe it was an accident. Or maybe it was something else, something that reached out and plucked Cold Creek from the reality like a loose thread. Whatever it was, it left behind just enough to make you wonder. A name, a sound, a whisper in the fog that says all aboard. Because for a town that supposedly never existed, a lot of people are remembering living there. And sometimes the strangest things about the truth is how quietly it disappears. And that was the story of Cold Creek, a town that lived quiet, died quieter, and somehow still refuses to be forgotten. If you ever find yourself driving through Nebraska on a foggy night and your radio starts picking up a woman's voice whispering all aboard, maybe you shouldn't stop it to investigate. Just smile and keep driving. And maybe, just maybe, don't look in the rearview mirror. If you enjoyed today's story, go ahead and give this video a like. It helps more curious souls find their way here. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Every week we'll dig up another strange but true story that's, well, mostly true and always strange. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the truth isn't gone. It's just waiting for someone brave enough to look it up.